little did I know we would. Little did she know she would. But we had it figured out. All the ingredients to play house. Line up the dolls for the talent show. The crowd goes wild, tens across the board. Now I'm my own worst critic, that's for sure. Imagination is a power we hold of creation. Where nothing's too bold, it feels lazy. Now that we're old, but little did I know. Little did she know. Behind an old gravel road, there are houses becoming a home. Past the cattails and oaks, stepping on the lost pine cones. It's like a secret code. On the open road, where only few know the way, and you think its stories would fade once you turn past that gravel road. Ask Gladys, she knows about how you could see each and every boat. Now there's only towers to note, and gone is the view of the coast. So say hello to the fishermen, don't be shy, let the neighbors in, pull in your car as the sky grows thin. So come on over, dear, we've got space in the trailer at this time of year. And don't mind the breeze down here, it tends to get cold as the stars draw nearer. Behind an old gravel road, you'll fall off if you don't go slow. Behind where the maples grow, tap it once for a golden show. It's like a secret code. On the open road, so say hello to the motorist, I'll have a cup. If you're drinking yet, better bring your heavy-duty wheels. So come on over, hon, we've got a bed and a hammock, and you can pick which one. And don't mind the calling here, the birds are quite chatty when the sun starts to appear. disappear. Oh, you'll get lost in the heat of the waves as fiery riptide sweeps you away. You think the music would calm the birds, but they sing along by humming the words. In a museum, one was lost and found by rightful owners, safe and sound. Structured walls from those in the past shake hands with fresh faces to see what can last. So come on over, dear. So come on over, dear. So come on over, dear. Oh, so come on over here. Behind an old gravel road, thank you. I met her some time ago. She was alone, closed off, and seemed stone cold, like a wilted rose, glass broken, but a curse to hold. She seemed so cold, but held a tale of old. I asked her if she had the time to tell me what's been on my mind. And once we got the story right, I'm cold, shaken, and shocked she survived. You tell me that you've never broken a bone, and I'm asking how things have been at home. It's just a silly icebreaker, now I'm asking how you met her. She asked me how did I know, 'cause this is more than an X-ray can show. I don't remember how long ago we met. It was an age I couldn't leave the house alone, like we're dragging a spring to a hook too far to be reached. You were my favorite song, now I can't stand the words you preach. But I'm not known for having scars. Some people just take it too far. And if I was better with my words, and there's not a risk of being hurt by her. You tell me that you've never broken a bone, and I'm asking how things have been at home. It's just a silly icebreaker, now I'm asking how you met her. She asked me how did I know. You tell me that you've never broken a bone, and I'm asking how things have been at home. It's just a silly icebreaker, now I'm asking how you met her. She asked me how did I know, 'cause I too have never broken a bone. Very dry, I need lots of water. I've been finding seashells in my pockets. Bought them for free from the ocean floor. And a sock of sand still resides in my sneakers from when we last went to the shore. And now I'm running down the sandbars. You'd think that time's my biggest fear. And who'd have thought that you'd be right behind me? So I laugh while you whisper in my ear. Take a moment to breathe with me while the sea fills our lungs. You see, not a lake can compete to the ocean blue, except for maybe one more summer with you. My tan reminds me of that day, and the special look in your eyes, where the sun's a first place, not old, but to you, I'm the greatest prize. Take a moment to breathe with me while the sea fills our lungs. You see, not a lake can compete to the ocean blue, except for maybe one more summer with you. 'Cause if you thread a shell around my neck, I'll wear it till it breaks. By then it'd be replaced with a golden band, while your knee rests in matching sand. So thread a shell around my neck, I'll wear it till it breaks. By then it'd be replaced with a golden band, while your knee rests in matching sand. Take a moment to breathe with me while the sea fills our lungs. You see, not a lake can compete to the ocean blue, except for maybe one more summer with you. Not a lake can compete to the ocean blue, except for maybe one more summer with you. All right, I've got but one more song left. Just welcome everybody to the Halifax Story Slam. I hope everybody's enjoying the lovely weather we're having today. I hope everybody got a chance to enjoy that. My name is Manetta Rose. I'm a singer-songwriter from Dartmouth, and I'm really happy to be here, so I hope you enjoy the next song that I've got for you. It's also quite dry in here, so I'm very thirsty. Just one more night, just you and I. I'd like to see where this could lead. It's hot outside, the sun's not down. Just you and me, let's run this town. And if the sky begins to fade, the stars will light up all this shade. There's music playing across the town. Just you and me, follow the sound. We may not know how to dance very well, but with the moon and a little help, I'm sure we'll find our spark. The music's loud, ignore the crowd. I step on your toes and just say it's fine, just stay in line with the music notes. And no one will ever know. And if they laugh, good thing we know how to do it back. And if they clap, we'll learn how to bow. It feels like something hiding in our dreams, but we'll find how to make it our reality. Our shoes are worn, our ankles torn. Time moves past, too quick, too fast. The sun will start to rise again, but that does not make this the end. We may not know how to dance very well, but with the moon and a little help, I'm sure we'll find our spark. The music's loud, ignore the crowd. I step on your toes and just say it's fine, just stay in line with the music notes. And no one will ever know. And if they laugh, good thing we know how to do it back. And if they clap, we'll learn how to bow. It feels like something hiding in our dreams, but we found how to make it our reality. We may not know how to dance very well, but with the moon and a little help, I'm sure we'll find our spark. The music's loud, ignore the crowd. I stepped on your toes and just say it's fine, just stay in line with the music notes. But everybody knows they didn't laugh, but at least we know how to do it back. And they clapped, so we bowed. It felt like something hiding in our dreams, but we found how to make it our reality. Thank you.
So we'll just, as you get settled in, we want to also thank Rose Moore. I have a big fan of hers. She played a little music for us for the first half hour. But right now we have an open mic that we've done every time so far, and it gives you the opportunity, maybe 5 minutes max, 2 minutes is also good. If you have your own personal story, you want to take a swing at what we're going to do here tonight, come on up to the microphone here. It's wide open. We'll leave the mic open and live, and just come on up. Give us your story. We always like to say they're true as remembered, so not that you have to make anything up necessarily, but however you want to tell a little personal story, this is a great chance as a little primer, and maybe we'll even get you in on the next one. Wutzel are in the audience here also did that one time and then became one of our storytellers before, so maybe you can even be our plant for tonight to show us how it goes. And Andrew, I know that you are not shy of the microphone, so we even used you in some of our media that you may have seen on the news as well. But yeah, so the mic's here. You just have to walk down. I'm going to step aside as we do a few other things, but come on down. Tell us your story to everyone else. Just give us a little, your own personal story on mental wellness. We'd love to hear that tonight. Go for it. We'll see you in, I may have to come prompt anyone else to do that again, but we'll start an official program at 6:30, but the mic is open for you. There must be a storyteller out there somewhere who's keen. Here's someone. Come on up. I'll come and walk out and position you. You just have to walk into the light. And you're about my height. I'll just bring this down for you here. So you have about, you can come fairly close to the microphone. Yeah, great. And you have about 5 minutes to tell us a lovely story.
Hi, everyone. I get really nervous, but I thought I'd like to tell you a story. So I have a visual impairment, so I do have a question to ask, and I'd like you guys to say yes or no. Has anyone ever heard of like secondhand mental health? Okay, so that's kind of like if you witness an accident, but you weren't in the accident and you get the secondhand trauma from the accident. So when I was a kid, I ended up witnessing my cousins being left alone with my family for, I'd say, could be 8 to 10 hours a day with their mom going out wherever on dates and whatever. And I was a kid and I'm like, okay, I have cousins to play with, whatever. But what I didn't realize was that was happening so much that in my mind I thought that her quote unquote abandonment of her kids was going to happen to me with my mom. So anytime my mom went out, like she had darts thing for like 3 hours on every Tuesday night. So anytime she'd go out, I thought this was normal, but it's not. I would call her like at least 15 minutes every half an hour saying, when are you going to be home? When are you going to be home? Because I was terrified that she would leave me. Like I seen my aunt just drop her kids off for up to 10 hours in a day. So it caused me abandonment issues, but it wasn't from my mom. It was from witnessing it. And not a lot of people actually understand that if you witness any kind of neglect or abandonment or like abuse like that, especially as a child, in your mind, you think it's going to happen to you too as well. And I just learned that it was abandonment issues literally just a couple of years ago. And honestly, anytime I had friends who I would have a disagreement with, I was terrified that because I got them upset and I thought they were angry with me, that they would just say, okay, I'm not going to be your friend anymore. And that was because of the whole abandonment issues. But then I have one good friend who I was roommates with her for a couple of years, and she helped me get over this whole trauma by telling me and reassuring me that anytime we had a disagreement, that it was just a disagreement and we're still friends. It does not mean anything. I'm not mad at you, I'm not going to ditch you, I'm not going to say you're the worst person on the planet. We're still friends and it was just a disagreement. I don't know, all of that reassurance has been helping, and it actually has made me be able to bring it out and talk to my mom about it, which has also been helping. So I am, for the most part, in the process of getting through the abandonment issues. But I do want to let you know that if you do witness any kind of neglect or abuse or any abandonment happening in front of you, it can happen to you, but there is help, okay?
Thank you. Thank you for coming up to tell your story. I don't think we got your name. What's your name? Carrie? Thank you, Carrie. It is not easy to come up here and speak to people, especially on the fly like that, so we really appreciate it. It always takes one person to kick off the open mic, so if anyone else wants to come up, we've still got time. Come on up and tell your story. Here's someone else.
Hi, my name is Karen. Can you hear me? Okay. How I would share my story, it's about loneliness. When I migrated here several years ago, it was one of the hardest things for me to connect here because I had families and friends back home, but here I was not connecting with anyone. So it was one of the hardest transitions for me to connect. And my child was back home along with my colleagues. Their children were back home as well. And I had to change the narrative to say, if I can feel this way as an adult, then the children coming here will also feel the same way. So we initiated having a picnic every weekend, or every weekend that we were able to get together, we would have those picnics. So the children get together, we are able to socialize and not having that feeling of loneliness, because it is not a nice feeling. It's one of the hardest things to cope with, especially in a new environment, in a new country. So it made it easier for the children when they came here, and it also helped us as adults to navigate integrating into the Canadian culture. Mental health wellness is extremely important. I'm a healthcare worker, and it can be hard at times, especially that aspect of loneliness. It can be tough. But I am at a place now where I can identify with it and acknowledge it and know how to cope and use the right coping mechanisms to get through each day. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. So I'm Vatsal. I think Craig was talking about me earlier. And last time I was up here, I tried to tell a funny story, but not sure if I can do that today since it's Mental Health Awareness Week. So a couple of things you should know about me. I grew up in India, and my upbringing was a combination of a couple of things. Seeing my hardworking parents raise 2 kids, trying to make ends meet, raising kids, and teaching them as well, while also hanging out with a couple of tough guys. So our communication style was quite different than what you would see in Canada, because people are very polite, nice, whereas where I grew up, people were not quite nice, as you would imagine. We would right away point at the shortest shortcomings you would have and make fun of it. So that was my life until I was 20 years old. And then I moved to Canada. And I was trying to relive how I grew up. I thought that's how people connect. We make fun of each other, and that's how you form real bonds, because you take life lightly and you don't take life too seriously. I was badly mistaken, obviously, because if you point out people's flaws, they don't like it too much. And I was a student here, and I saw my parents working really hard to make ends meet. So that was kind of ingrained in me. When I was a student, I was working 4 part-time jobs, trying to pay the 50 grand of loan I had in my bank, and while trying to make friends. It was a very lonely journey, because there was also a lot of guilt, because I left my parents old back home, and I would always think, oh my God, did I make a big mistake coming here? Who's going to look after my parents? While I was dealing with that guilt, I was also trying to make friends. And the way I was trying to make friends was basically insulting people. So during the pandemic, I was still trying to make the money and still trying to hang out with all these people I was trying to make friends who didn't want to hang out with me. And there were nights when I would be sitting on my bed, looking at the ceiling, thinking, what am I doing wrong? There was a long bout of insomnia. Some days I would be checking boxes. I would be going for runs. I would do 5Ks, and I was trying to be a health nut, because that's what people do. Let's check all the boxes. Let's eat healthy food. Let's go for a run, and we'll do great. But mental health doesn't really work that way. You still need real human connections to make you feel like connected to the world and make you feel happy. That was a big part that was missing in my life, and I was trying to do what I knew I could do, because growing up, nobody teaches guys or men that you can be soft and you can be sensitive, and it's okay to not be rough all the time. But nobody taught me that. The only way I knew how to connect with people was, again, being as tough as you could be. However, throughout my time in Canada, I have been lucky enough to meet people who don't judge a book by its cover. So when they talk to me, they realize that it is just a coping mechanism that I developed growing up. If I'm being mean, there is just like trying to protect myself so people are not mean to me. So there is only a few people who would have traveled the world, who had met a lot of people. They would see through that, and they would realize that maybe there is more to this story. Maybe there is more to this person that meets the eye. And as I said, I have met some of those people, and I've been lucky enough who look at me through what I'm, like, past what I'm saying. So in spirit of Mental Health Week and Mental Health Month, if you are talking to somebody who doesn't look like you, who doesn't talk like you, maybe there is a level deeper that we can all look into and try to map their life story or what they have gone through. Because as I said, a lot of people don't really know what they can work on to fix their life or to fix how to feel better. Because during the pandemic, I didn't have any answers. I was just making demons in my head. Oh, my parents are getting old. I need to watch for them and look out for them. But those demons were not real. I was just making those demons in my head. And the therapy is not a bad thing, because I went to see a therapist, and she told me that 90% of the things that we are worrying about won't come true, which is, in fact, the case. So I guess I'm very practical. I like to have takeaways. But yeah, don't judge a book by its cover, and it's never a bad thing to ask for help. Thank you.
Thank you, Hounsell. Appreciate you coming up. All right, this is like a run-in show. I love this. Who's this guy? I think we're back.
Right. Yeah, I'm going to come up because Craig pointed me out too. My name's Andrew. I'm a first responder. I've been for 20 years or so. In the interest of kind of the mental health side of this, I just figured I'd share a critical incident stress reaction that I had as a result of something that I worked. I'll spare a lot of the details because they can be a little triggering. But suffice to say that my crew, this might be harder than I thought. Responded individual was very hurt, and we worked on this person for quite a while. And thankfully, we were able to revive this individual. However, that only lasted for about 4 hours, and the person succumbed to their injuries. The silver lining to that was the individual then could be an organ donor. Okay, whereas if they arrived at the hospital without a heartbeat, things like skin and other soft tissues are really it. But if they have circulation, you can use some of the more major organs. So big kudos to the group I was with. Hey, we did great work. From there, 2 days went by. No issues, things seemed great. Went about my normal day-to-day, and almost 48 hours or so on the nose from when this incident occurred, I shut down completely. Middle of the day, called people I was supposed to meet and said, hey, I can't make it, went home, crawled in bed, and I slept for the remainder of the day. And I had never experienced that before in my career. This was a number of years ago, so I'd had some time under my belt, so to speak. And we went in and did our critical incident stress debriefing with the crew the following shift, so that was another 4 days later. And the individual who was there to debrief us had said, did anybody feel weird in the couple of days since this incident? And I said, well, I did. I said, okay, cool. Tell us about it, and I explained. And he said, yeah, you had an adrenaline withdrawal. And essentially the adrenaline was so high for about 48 hours that it stopped and my body just shut down. And he said that is actually a normal reaction to some of these incidents. There's no way to say whether you'll have them or not. Some people do, some people don't. I've never had one since, so it really caught me off guard. I never had one leading up to that. So there's no rhyme or reason to it, and that's, I know when we talk mental health, we talk about some of the chronic and more long-term things, but this is just figured I'd share kind of an acute. It was a one-off. I have no demons from this one. This was not something that haunts me by any means. And again, I still see it as a net positive for those who it was able to positively affect. Obviously, the individual in question, not so much for those that that person may have been able to help. I still see it as a success. So anyways, that was my story.
Hi there. My name is Jean, and I have a bit of a story about mental health, although I can't get into too much detail because it would probably take a lot longer than 5 minutes. When I was growing up, I grew up in a house with one of my parents who had pretty deep mental health issues. And back in those days, you really didn't, as a child, growing up in an environment like that, understand. You just knew that perhaps, your parent, they're smart, they have a great job, and they do really great, but sometimes they're just a little bit sad. Sometimes I would walk in and they were crying. I didn't understand. And when I got to be a young adult, I started to feel sometimes sad, like I was a bit different than other people, and that got to be some dark times when I was, in my teens and probably early 20s. And I got to the point where I wondered what my life was going to be like. I spent a lot of time, like I was successful and I had a great job at the time. I was doing successful things. But I would end up in, relationships that didn't make me feel very good. And I felt very alone in that I would, I just felt very concerned for my future. And then I found a light in my life, and that light showed me stability. It showed me that acceptance, and that when you surround yourself with positive people who make you feel good, who fill your bucket, you can do pretty much anything. And I'm very proud that I've had a career representing, in a lot of cases, people like Andrew with first response. And I think through my experience with mental health and experiencing depression myself, sometimes very deep depression, but been able to lift my way out of it, but apply it to the work that I've done as a communicator. And now I'm privileged to work as a communicator for Nova Scotia Health. And in my portfolio, I'm proud to represent the mental health portfolio. And through the work I do, I hope to normalize the conversation on mental health and make people realize that it's very similar to day-to-day wellness. Like, there are times it gets pretty dark, but a lot of us, I think, probably all of us at some points, feel like we could use a little tune-up. So whether that be talking to somebody or listening to music on a day-to-day basis, it's very similar to, like, I'm really out of shape right now, I should go to the gym, right? Because I can't climb those stairs very well without getting out of breath. But that's up to me, but to surround myself with people and good habits. So just wanted to say, normalize the conversations about mental health. And I do want to thank somebody very special in this room who gave me the light and who is now helping with this kind of event, and that's my husband, Craig Moore, who is the, I guess, creator of Story Slam here in Halifax, but also the person who gave me hope and made me realize that I could be successful. I look at him quite often and I say, how was I smart enough to be with someone like you? Because you're nothing like all the other guys I dated. Because you made me feel really good about myself. And I just want to thank you, Craig, and thank everyone for coming tonight. And please, 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 normalize conversations about mental health. Yeah, find all the positivity you can. So, like my light, Craig.
Well, I don't hug and kiss everyone who comes here, just so you know. But I'll make an exception for that for sure. Andrew, I could have given you a little one too, but fine. This is a space to hear these stories that people haven't come through the experience that we've been doing with Story Slam. So if there's any last minute, we can play with the program a little bit. We do have that flexibility. I'm not sure if you'll be able to top Gene, especially in my mind. But any last takers for an open mic before we get kicking off things? Maybe not. Okay. All right. Well. Thank you everyone for coming up to taking hold of the mic and sharing your story. It's always a great experience to come up and it takes a lot just to come up here and tell a very personal piece of yourself. We are about to start the main program, so if you just want to give us a few minutes to reposition a few things, change a few lights, but just know that in about 2 minutes or so, we'll get things started. How's that? Is that okay? Good enough? Ian, you good? Good. All right, down one page already. All right, so welcome everyone. And welcome back to Halifax Story Slam. For those of you who new, Halifax Story Slam is about real people sharing true stories, often as you heard already with our open mic. These are stories you're about to hear. They are true stories. They're their own stories. They're told live without notes. So there's no prompts. There's no screens anywhere else. There's no side index cards or anything like that. What you're hearing is only told from memory. So, give them a little latitude as they go through, but they are well polished and we are up for a great evening tonight. Before we move on, and I'll do this myself because I'm usually the culprit, is please check your phone to make sure they are all set to silent or to vibrate, but not to set to interrupt mode. So I'll just check that. There you go, mine's down. And I'll even just double check, make sure the volume's down. Before we get too deep into tonight's program, it's important to recognize that where we have gathered tonight. We begin by acknowledging that we have gathered on the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. Mi'kma'ki has been home to the Mi'kmaq people since time immemorial, and we recognize their enduring presence and connection to the land. As we gather here tonight to share stories of mental wellness, we're reminded that connection to each other, to community, and to the land is an important part of well-being. Storytelling has always been a great way of making sense of our experiences, building understanding, and strengthening connections across generations. That's something we can carry forward tonight, and with care and respect. Now, for our special evening tonight, our theme is VIEW, Personal Stories on Mental Wellness. I'm really excited about this. This has been building for quite a long time. And also, we were able to dovetail this together with Canadian Mental Health Week. And the theme this year for Canadian Mental Health Week is Come Together Canada. And this is a perfect example for this. We're so happy that you are here in the audience to hear these stories tonight. And we're here because this is a great fit to hear these stories and listen in, find that connection, because stronger connections always support better mental health. But it isn't just about storytelling tonight from the front. It's about listening and connecting and creating a space for real experiences. I want to start by thanking a few people who have actually made tonight possible. To my fellow story coaches, we have Michael Amo in the front row, and we also have Kayla Hounsell, and CBC's Kayla Hounsell. Thank you for your time, your care and guidance that you've given us and our storytellers to help share these stories and shape them to what they are tonight. Always a massive thanks to my family for supporting me and making this happen, especially Jean coming up tonight and giving me a little bit more shout out. I appreciate that. Always to our partners, Halifax Public Libraries, and especially Halifax Central Library here at our location tonight, and specifically Ellie Kish, who's hiding in the background, who doesn't always want to come up to the podium. We very much want to thank you for providing this space, for storytelling coaching from our coaches, and just for enabling us to host here tonight in the Paul Regan Hall, a very special place for us to be. And we're also grateful to this season to be a community grant recipient of the Mental Health Foundation of Nova Scotia for supporting this event through the work that they do. And on that note, I would like to invite Star Cunningham to come to the mic and let us know a little bit more.
Thank you very much, Craig. For those who know me from my CTV days, I usually work with a script. So this is flying by the seat of my pants, just kidding. At the Mental Health Foundation of Nova Scotia, we provide community grant funding twice a year to community-based mental health and addictions organizations all across the province. And one of the things we're always looking for is innovation, a unique project, something that will bring communities together. Let's just say we found it in the application we received from Craig and Story Slam. I've not been to a Story Slam before, so I'm very excited to be here. And I think this is a perfect example on Mental Health Week, especially, of what it means to be a connected community. and the power of story. I mentioned my CTV days before. For 23 years, I was on camera, and I spent a heck of a lot of time trying to hide the fact that I lived with mental illness. Now, for the last 13 years, I've had the pleasure of working with the Mental Health Foundation, where I can openly share my own experience, and it makes all the difference in the world. So congratulations, really looking forward to this. Let's stay connected and be part of a community.
As you see tonight on the slide that we currently have, we're going to cover a broad range of topics tonight. So keep that in mind in yourself, and you know yourself better than anyone. But we do have quite a list of mental health resources that are up there that are available for anyone at any time. So take a screenshot of that, or you can whatever you'd like, but definitely please utilize these resources at any time if you ever need in the future, and especially tonight. We also have, if you saw on our way in, our table from the Canadian Mental Health Foundation of Nova Scotia. They have a number of resources they've been handing out up top as well. Grab them anytime today through things here or on your way out. And we also have these lovely ribbons from them that they've provided here as well. Where are we at now? I must say, when the opportunity came to apply for the grant, we've run the Story Slam 3 times before, and we also fly by the seat of our pants a little bit when we're doing it, but we really saw this as a perfect opportunity. We've seen people come to this room, they share their own stories, we have the open mic night, but people will always walk away with that connection, and we thought it was a perfect fit for the grants, and we were so happy that we were able to be one of the grant recipients of that organization. I recommend anyone that have a unique idea to kind of reach out to the foundation themselves and to also pitch them, because it's a great resource to kind of make things happen for you. Of course, if you were here during the musical interlude, I'd like to thank my daughter, Rose Moore, from Rose Moore Music. She gave us a great little musical interlude at the beginning. And most importantly, I wanted to thank all of you for taking the time to come here tonight. We also now have 5 storytellers who you'll hear from this evening. We do have a 6th that's going to show up later on social media, not quite live, but live to tape. They were in our cohort, but they had to, at the not quite last minute, but just on a week or 2 ago, found out that they had to take their job, unfortunately leading a group of people into Ireland on a bus tour. So I can see why maybe they went that way instead of tonight, but you'll see them on our social media. We'll post that out later on. Before we begin, I want to take a moment to acknowledge the nature of tonight's stories. These are real personal experiences. Some may include themes such as depression, substance use, thoughts of suicide and self-harm, personal loss and grief, traumatic life events, addiction, and alcohol use. So there is a very broad topic group to understand that this may be something that can be affected to people as you're hearing these true stories. We don't share this to alarm anyone, but just to make sure that to be aware and to help take care of yourself. Please feel free to step out at any time. If you need a break, there's no expectations for you to stay through and tough it out or anything that you might feel overwhelming. This is a safe space not only for our storytellers, but our listeners as well. And if something resonates with you tonight, we encourage you to reach out to someone you trust, or to one of the organizations that are here this evening, or to one of the resources that you see on the screen to our left. But we have come here to gather together tonight, and I hope you understand that you are not alone. Now, my somewhat favorite part of the night is when I kind of get out of the way. Each of our storytellers, how the event goes, if you haven't been here before, each one of our storytellers will take the stage once at a time, share their story live as remembered. And I ask that you stay present, hold space, and support each person as they come up. First up, we are about to hear from Pam. And Pam's story takes us onto a unique trip, one that ends in a whole new vocabulary and perspective. Pam, come on up. Well, Pam, the most difficult thing is always to go first for pretty much anything. So thank you very much for taking the stage first. I really appreciate that. That was an awesome story. It took us on our own little trip just to hear that, so it was really, really cool. And I think everyone now who's heard this story will kind of notice their bathroom tiles next time they walk into it. So, okay, next up we have Shrishti. And with Shrishti's story, it's a very deep personal view of self as a newcomer to Canada, and it's one that resonates far beyond her own experience. So I'm very excited for you to hear this. And Shrishti, come on, take the mic.
I still remember the night I landed in Canada. A skinny girl wrapped up in so many clothing because I've heard Canada's winter is breathtaking. I thought I'll be fine, but I was not. I walked out of the airport and cold just grabbed my face, felt like it had been waiting just for me. People used to say, foreign land changes person's whole personality and it will change mine too. I used to nod along and say, yes, new country, new me. But that's not what happened. Canada didn't change me. It did something quieter than that. That took me a long time to understand. I had been seeing myself for a long time, but with the lenses that were slightly off, smudged by the things people said, scratched by the things I believed. Few months after I arrived in Canada, I got a job at mall. Wasn't in the plan, but the reality was a uniform and a name tag with my name, Shrishti, which nobody could actually pronounce. It was a busy afternoon, long line, constant beep of registers. I'm standing at the counter, smiling, scanning and moving fast, and then she comes. She looks at me a moment longer than usual and says, "You are so beautiful." And I looked at her with a pretty questionable face, and I turned back to check if there is someone behind me who she's talking about. And there was no one behind me. In my head, I was like, she is talking about me, unless she can see ghosts. Maybe she's just being nice, or maybe it's a Canadian thing. I didn't know what to do with this, so I just laughed it out of court. Looked down, started scanning her item again. But it didn't stop there. It happened again. Another day, another person. And I did the same thing. Until one day. It was pretty slow morning. A lady and I were talking about clothing colors. She was holding a bright red dress, and in between the conversation, she subtly said, "This will look good, amazing on you. I wish I had your skin." And again, there was a gap between what she said and what I heard. Because what I heard was a joke on my skin. I thought, this is how people say when they can't say it directly. Now I don't understand what's this Canadian thing. My ego was about to take charge and ask, "What do you really mean by that, ma'am?" But my wise, practical, financially responsible wisdom did hold the horses of my ego and whispered into my ears, "Remember your loan, your phone bill, your parents back home?" I collected myself. And I changed the conversation topic, showed nothing bothered me. But inside, it did trigger something. That day, I went back home, but I couldn't sleep. Because one question was not just going out of my head, why it felt like an insult. Well, after that incident, I was drowning. Not in the cold this time, in rejection letters. I really want to mention here how job searching seems like from an eye of elder daughter who came to brand new country with no connection to study with her parents' hope. It's an unbearable pressure that you can feel inside, but you can't share to anyone, not even your parents. Every FaceTime you do, you have to show your happiest face ever. So definitely it's not just applications. I remember I used to open my laptop every morning before I fully even awake, just to check if something changed overnight. But it never did. One magical day, I received an email that they loved my profile and they would like to schedule an interview. And that was the day I ate full fat Indian meal. I was so happy, so hopeful. I scheduled my interview on Wednesday, which is my luckiest day. I dressed up like a CEO, and the clinic was quite far from my home, so it took me around 3 buses to reach there, but my excitement was enough to bear that. I reached there, I confidently entered the room. We talked for about 1.5 hours. She explained every process that they follow. She showed me every corner of the clinic, and that somewhere confirmed my hope. And at the end of the conversation, she said she will get back to me in 20 days. And I said, yes, thank you. And guess what? I didn't hear back anything in those 20 days. But on 21st, I received the best and the worst email of my life. I clicked onto that notification. I was nervous, but behind that nervousness, there was a hope. I started reading. Good morning, Shrishti. It was lovely meeting you. You were one of the best candidates we screened, and I would love to connect again. But unfortunately, it was a whole 1-page long paragraph, but I couldn't read a single letter after that. I was full of tears, and in that very moment, I saw my loan, I saw my tuition to be paid, I saw my parents' face with a hope that all crushing inside me. But that moment was not enough to crack me open. One very late night, my friend who I cared and loved the most visited me. She sat on the dinner table and I served her food. She came like this before also, but today it felt weird. She started talking, and I don't know how, when, that conversation turned into arrows of arguments, and I posted on her. Nobody understands me. Nobody sees what I sacrifice for them. But I always try to be there for them. But when I need someone, there is no one. I don't want to be a good girl because nobody wants a good girl. Everyone needs a good girl. I'm tired of fulfilling everyone's needs to the point that I forgot my own needs, my own wants. I kept saying and saying and saying. To be precise, I kept screaming and screaming and screaming until she held me very tightly with both of her hands, looked straight into my eyes and said, Shrishti, nobody will respect you until you respect yourself. And something inside me went quiet. I didn't say anything because that was the truth I had been hiding from for a long period of time. I didn't defend. I went upstairs, I locked my door. I stood in front of a mirror, and I couldn't hold myself. I cried for almost 40 minutes, and I think it was much needed. And then I heard a voice. Can you see me? I know you are tired. I know you had been waiting for long for this, but can we talk? that lady at mall did see something real in you. Why did you laugh? I said, because beauty always had standards that I lacked. And she asked me, how you see beauty in others. I thought for a second, and I said, I see beauty as a parameter of their kindness. I see how they brighten up their surroundings with a smile. I see how deeply they pursue their passion. I see how they care when caring is not easy. And while saying all this thing, I could see myself in all those definitions, but before I could say anything, she asked me another question. Why did you want that job so badly? I said, because I wanted something outside of me to tell that I am capable. Something I can hold up and say, see, I matter. And she said, who were you, Shrishti, before any of this, before Canada, before loan, before every rejection that made you question your worth? You were that delusionally optimistic girl who felt deep in her bone that she has a purpose and she is here for something big. And again, before I could say anything, she asked me another question. Why did you kept emptying yourself for people who never once asked if you have anything left inside? I said, because I thought that's the price of being loved. Because I thought love is something you earn. So every day, if I could be useful enough, needed enough to be worth staying for. And she said, there was nothing wrong with you, Shrishti. She didn't say anything after that. She looked at me. And for the first time in my life, I saw her clearly. And I smiled. And you know what I saw? I didn't see someone who needed fixing. I didn't see not quite, I didn't see almost, I didn't see if any. I saw a girl who crossed an ocean alone, who showed up every single day when showing up cost her everything, who loved everyone so deeply that she forgot to save some for her, who carried her family's hope in a carry-on bag and never once put it down. So see, she was never unfinished. She was never broken. She was already whole. She was already enough, and she was already everything. She just needed one person to stop and say, you don't need to fix anything. You never did. You are perfect as you are. And that person was me. Thank you.
I see everyone kind of running from the mic when they're done so far, so it might be the theme of the evening. But thank you, Shrishti. That was fantastic. Just wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. It was just amazing to hear your perspective, and we really appreciate you trusting us along the journey to tell that story tonight. Thank you very much. Next up we have is Phil, and Phil's story invites us along for several life-changing moments, and ones that stay with you long after the ride ends. So welcome to the mic, Phil.
I died. And here I was, in my house, just a few days after. I thought I'd beat it. I was happy. I was excited. But I quickly realized something I had never realized before. That my entire life, I was always told I had ADHD. I was go, go, go. But in doing so, I had neglected the most important things that were right in front of me. It started slowly, day by day, thought by thought. It started to creep in. I started questioning everything that I did, including all the times that I had neglected my family, that I had done work emails and worked overtime instead of spending time with them. I started asking myself, was I a good father? Was I a good son? Maybe. Was I even a good person? And for the first time in my life, I asked myself, would the world be a better place if I wasn't in it? Then came even more. I'm going to take you back a little bit, and you have to know a little bit about myself and my upbringing. I grew up as a child in Cape Breton, rural Cape Breton. At the age of 10, I started delivering the Cape Breton Post. Those driveways were hundreds of feet long. Then I decided I'm going to shovel and mow those exact driveways. At the age of 14, I opened my very first business. I started buying paintballs for 2 cents and selling them for 10. In one summer, I made $10,000. I saved that money, and at the age of 15, I decided I was going to be a somebody and moved to the big city of Halifax. I wanted to build an empire. I wanted to show the world what I could do. I thought this entire time that being successful meant something. But it all changed on February 7th of last year. That's the day that I died and came back. For those of you who don't know, I'm a sergeant with the Halifax Regional Police. I'm incredibly proud to do what I do, and on that morning, I was going to teach 20 brand new cadets. I felt good. I was driving in the truck in full uniform, and I felt off. I felt nauseous. I said to myself, damn, if something happens right now and I pass out, I'm going to hurt someone. That's on me. So I turned around and I went back home. When I arrived at home, I collapsed out of the truck into the slush. And I have an out-of-body experience. It's quite interesting. You can see yourself just like the movies, lying in the slush, looking up, and all of a sudden, on my left shoulder, like a freaking cartoon, appears a devil. And he goes, hey pal, what the fuck's going on here? An angel is on my other side. And if you haven't figured this out, this is my internal psyche. The angel says, well, obviously, what are you, some sort of idiot? You know what's going on here. The devil goes, psh, what are you talking about? This guy's 47 years old, half decent shape. There's no way he's having a heart attack. Angel goes, listen, you've been teaching first aid for over 20 years. This absolutely is a heart attack. And for the first time in my life, I stopped and I listened and I knew I was having a heart attack. You'll hear me say several times tonight, the first time in my life. And there's a reason. Because beating death changes you. And you start to realize things that you never realized before. I asked for help that morning. I picked up the phone and I phoned my partner of 1 month. Her name is Bridget. And I said to her, I need help. She runs outside. She had seen death before. She ran outside so quickly that the toothbrush that was in her mouth was still there. She looked at me, and the expression in her face, I will never forget. The toothbrush drops out of her mouth, slow motion like a movie. It hits the ground, it starts tumbling, and I'm like, oh fuck, I'm in trouble. She looks at me and calls 911. I can hear exactly what the operator is saying. He says, 12 minutes, we'll have an ambulance there. I said, I don't have 12 minutes. She goes inside to get my daughter because she knows she's going to have to do CPR. As she's inside, the devil comes back. The pain is so excruciating, I can't explain it. The devil says, hey, pal, if you close your eyes right now and go to sleep, everything's going to be okay. The angel goes, are you a fucking idiot? If you go to sleep, you're never waking up. The devil goes, don't listen to her. And all of a sudden, the angel says something I will never forget. Do you want to die in front of the people that you love the most? And then I felt like Superman. Like when he pushes off the ground and they have that sonic boom. And I sat up. I remember Bridget putting her hand on my shoulder being like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah. She's there with my daughter now. I hand her my phone and I say, you need to phone the watch commander. And for those of you who don't know, in the policing world, the watch commander is basically in charge of the entire city in policing. She dials the phone, and watch commanders are pretty gruff. She dials, and person on the other end goes, watch commander. My daughter goes, my dad is Sergeant Phil Power. I think he's having a heart attack, and he's in the middle of the driveway. He goes, oh, I'm sending the world. And just like that, he meant it. Fainted first, but within 30 seconds, I could hear sirens. And that restarted my psyche, my hope. And I held on. Next thing you know, there's chaos. Police officers everywhere, firefighters, paramedics. I'm so goddamn stubborn, I stand up and I put myself on the stretcher. We go into the ambulance, more chaos, we're driving. It's dark, it's slushy, it's 6:45 in the morning. We crest the McKay Bridge, and as we crest the bridge, a beam of light comes into the ambulance. At first I thought it was the sun, except the sun wasn't out. Everything turns quiet. No sirens, no voices, no motion. And then I see an older lady's hand, which is my mom's. She starts laying down cards in front of me. The first card is Bridget, my oldest daughter, Kelsey. Brooklyn, Miranda, Beckett. Life moments flash before me. And at that exact moment, I knew I had a choice to make. I can either change my life or die right here. And then boom, chaos comes back again. Next thing you know, I'm looking up, we're at the hospital. Towels are flying by. I can hear the distinct motion of a police officer next to me running. It is so distinct, you'll never forget it. The police that day shut down every intersection to get me to the hospital in record time. And the doctors told me if they hadn't have done it that day, I would surely be dead. I get up to the operating room. The doctor says he's going to put in a micro camera, and they go through my arm, which is good because they wanted to go through my groin first, and I had a lot of problems with that. They put the camera through my arm, and it is incredibly painful. And you can feel it. Every push is like a metal going through you, and it's like zzz, zzz. And the next thing you know, there's an 80-inch television to my left. And like a movie, my heart is on the monitor, and it is beautiful. And it's beating, boom, 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 boom. And I'm just staring at it. And the doctor goes, oh, 100% occlusion of your left anterior descending. And I'm like, oh yeah, like I know what that is. The Widowmaker. 12% chance of survival. It's a good thing you're here. He says, in 1 minute, I'm going to put stents in. You're going to feel an incredible relief. It happens. I pass out. 6 hours later, I wake up. I look at the foot of my bed, and who's kneeling on the concrete but Bridget? And for the first time in my life, I felt love. True, actual love. I look at her, she's smiling. I touch myself and I'm like, fuck, I'm still here. And then the pain hits again, and it is bad. And I'm literally bouncing in my gurney side to side. Bridget knows something's wrong. She goes and gets a nurse. More. Next thing you know, one of the doctors says, I think he's having another heart attack. Back to the operating room. And up I go again. Same camera, same spot. All the way through. Oh, do you see that? I don't fucking see anything. I don't know what I'm looking at. There's a blood clot in the lower quadrant of your heart. More chaos. Next thing you know, more drugs, and I go unconscious. A few days later, I go home. Me and Bridget start talking. I'm having a tough time. I start replaying every moment of my life. Why me? Why didn't I do this? Why did I choose that? What did I do different? Why? And I started to realize things. The first thing that I realized was that I wasn't the person that I thought I was. I had volunteered over 25,000 hours in my community. Heck, I even carried the Olympic torch for Canada. How could this be happening to me? And Bridget said to me, you haven't figured it out yet, have you? And I said, no. What, dear? She said to me, maybe because of everything you've given to your community is the whole reason why you're here today. And just like that, I was back in the ambulance with the exact same thought of you better change or you're going to die. So I did what needed to be done. Years earlier, I had been diagnosed with PTSD through policing. Like most people, especially in the first responder world, no big deal. We can get through it. We don't have to really deal with that. We're good. But this time, I had time. I went to therapy. I started doing the work. I started listening, feeling, being present. Things I've never done in my life. Then from there, lo and behold, I'm diagnosed with ADHD. And I finally get on medication. Never in my life have I taken medication. But I thought, you know what? I'm going to trust this process. And wow, life-changing again. Clarity, presence, thoughts, things that I've never had. And I made a decision right there, right then. I didn't come back from the dead and survive a widowmaker heart attack with a 12% chance of survival, followed by another one with a blood clot with a 1% chance of survival, to go back to being the same person I was. I was meant to be present, to be better, and to give. And that's what I'm doing.
Thank you very much, Phil. You did a great job of saying everything that you wanted to say tonight, and I know we've struggled in our preparations. Phil went from his story is so big, it has so much to it. We could have been like here for a half hour or more, and we still would have been very engaged and connected to the story. So he did a bunch of really good work to kind of give us this version of his Phil story tonight. So it was wonderful. And the most important thing is that you're actually here to say it. I mean, it was a bit of a giveaway when you're actually talking live and you said, I did die, but I loved how that went out that way. Next up, we have, our story is from Brenna. And Brenna's story reminds us that it's okay to lean into the good sad girl moment, but maybe not Team Taylor. So welcome Brenna to the stage.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you. Why the fuck am I always crying is a conversation that I've had now with my therapist at least 3 or 4 times. Crying before this was not something that I had done. Not during The Notebook, not during a breakup with a boyfriend. There's this meme about a sad girl or a sad girl trope, and they have long, dark, wavy hair, and they wear really comfortable sweaters, and they have smudged eyeliner, and they often like Taylor Swift. And this could not be further from how I saw myself. Yet here I was, tearing up or crying at the smallest of instances. It could be a song, generally by Hey Rosetta, that reminded me of someone I missed, or even a frustrating email at work. Just seemed to bring on tears. Earlier in my life, I would often brag about how I was such a resilient person, and not just me, but I was one of at least a generation of 4 resilient people in my family, including both of my parents, my grandparents, and my great-grandparents. The North Star of resiliency for me was always my grandmother. And while she's been gone now for over 13 years, I always held that as something her and I had in common. This ability to sometimes grin and bear it, or say water off a duck's back, and do whatever you had to get through it. I remember my grandmother, she would have little cries. One specific one was after we had lost my grandfather, who was her rock, and to be frank, all of our rocks. My grandmother always had this way of looking on the bright side of life. There's a song by Cass Elliot called Don't Let the Good Life Pass You By. It has all these sweet lines in it, like, have you ever taken the time to help a neighbor? Have you ever had a homemade apple pie? Just don't let the good life pass you by. When I play that song to my family, they all agree that reminds them all of Grandma. After her husband passed, the first Christmas I remember going home to New Glasgow. At 14, one of the highlights of my holidays was going Boxing Day shopping at the Aberdeen Mall. We quickly got dressed and said, okay, Grandma, let's go. And she said, I'm not gonna come. I need to stay home and I need to have a little cry. We came up with all the reasons why she should come with us, and she'll feel better if she comes, or maybe we'll stay home if you really don't want to come with us. But she said, no, you guys go. I'm gonna stay home and I'm gonna have my little cry. When you get back, I'll be good as new. And just like she promised, she would want to know who we spoke to and what we ate, and of course, show off everything that we buy. I knew that these resiliency skills I learned from my grandmother would serve me well in life. But there was a time where it felt a little bit like it all came crashing down. In 2023, I had what I called my year of hell, and it would probably not be unlike many other year of hells that people have had. It started off with a breakdown of a friendship. Just after that, I was diagnosed with COVID, which made me quite ill. A month later, one of my aunts, who was the matriarch of our family, had passed. The day after that, my car was hit and ran. The day after that, there was a very violent beating in my neighborhood that I was witness to. The hits kept coming. In the new year, it felt like things had finally turned around. I started a new relationship with someone who I thought could really see myself with this person. 6 weeks in, I went over for what I thought was going to be a happy hour with friends and walked into a drug deal going on in the living room. From there, the hits kept coming. At a 1-year anniversary, I lost what I thought was my dream job. And while I was fortunate enough to get a new one, I wasn't happy. On top of being unhappy, I was having these little cries, sometimes 7 times a day, just not feeling like myself. It was on a lunch break at work, sitting in my car in the driveway of my new, really crummy job, that I decided to call the mental health helpline and refer myself. It was 6 weeks later that I met my therapist, Martha, and the conversation started of why the fuck am I always crying? Martha was a seasoned therapist with a background in social work. She came with so many tools for my toolbox and always perspectives that would make me feel like I was making progress in all of this. Yet, month after month, I would go back to her and say, but Martha, I'm still crying. Like, this is not me. This past Christmas, some members of my family were home and we decided to go out and do some Christmas shopping. My aunt had told us that she had needed some advice in figuring out a bit of a touchy situation with the holidays coming up. And she asked me what she thought I would do. And I said, here's what you do. 2 options, option A and option B. Get a sheet of paper, one for option A, one for option B. Write all your pros and cons for option A, write all your pros and cons for option B. Go through that list and tally them up. Give them each a score, 1 to 10 on your own values. And at the end of the sheet, you have a score. Use that score to make your decision. My aunt, who was driving the car with me in the back seat, slowed the vehicle down and turned back to look at me, and she said, that's just what Grandma would have said. While I was very flattered, I also thought to myself, I couldn't feel further from Grandma as I am now. At my next appointment with Martha, I probably went in with a bit of a pep in my step to brag to her at how my aunt had just compared me to Grandma. I was, expecting another one of Martha's tips or tools, and she said to me, did you ever think of the years of hell that your grandmother had that led her to have the resiliency you saw? The first thing I thought of is my grandmother would not have allowed us to use the word hell. Grandma had this way about looking at all of her challenges, not through sorrow, but more with a really sweet anecdote, a chuckle, and probably reminding us of how we were luckier than most. That's not exactly my perspective, but I'm looking at these cries now as more of a bridge between her and I and a tool in my own toolbox. I have to admit that over the years, this sad girl trope has stayed in my head. I have to admit my hair has gotten much longer. I wear a lot more eyeliner these days. But as opposed to listening to Taylor Swift, I'm a bit more of a George Harrison and a Cass Elliot fan. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brenna. We really appreciate your honesty in telling that story tonight and letting us all know that a little cry can really help you get by. So thank you. Now we are on to our final storyteller of the evening. And we're about to bring out Maureen. And Maureen's story reminds us all that a little bling often belongs out front where it can be truly appreciated. So welcome to the microphone, Maureen.
Good. Cookie. She came into my life at the darkest time I'd ever known. 2 months before I met her was the day I got the call. It was my dad on the phone, and he said, Maureen, there's been a terrible turn of events. There had been. My sweet, beautiful mom was being rushed to the hospital with a brain bleed. I went to her side, I held her, I laid with her all through the night, and by morning, she was gone. Just like that. I'm an only child, so it's always been my mom, my dad, and me. So losing my mom, it was devastating. After that, every morning I woke up to a heaviness, like the world was off kilter, almost like I lost a part of my body, something vital, and I was never going to get it back. Somehow, and I still question the timing, this was around the time my husband came to me and said, maybe now we should get a dog. We've been talking about it for months, maybe years. And in my grief-fogged mind, all I could think was, yes. So that's how Cookie, the cockapoo, came into my world 2 months after my mom died. She was tiny, ginger-colored, long, floppy ears, curly coat, completely cute. And for me, she became something happy to look at when everything about my life felt so sad. She was something new and little when something so enormous had been lost. And from the very start, she was different. Happy, friendly. Okay, I know that's most dogs. But she was calm, so calm. People would stop us on the sidewalk and comment about it. And, I needed calm. One day when Cookie was about 1, I saw a post about becoming a therapy dog team, and it just clicked. We could do that. It just made sense with Cookie's disposition. And I knew just where we would go, Halifax Hospice. I worked for years in healthcare. I was comfortable with death and dying. And I think in my heart, I hope that after losing my mom, maybe I had something deeper, more meaningful to offer people. As good as it sounds, me going to volunteer at hospice, if I'm being completely honest with you all, I probably never would have gone there without Cookie. You've heard the term wingman? She was my wing girl. Eventually, we started going to hospice every week. And from the very first visit, beautiful things happened. Cookie would bound into rooms, ears flapping, tail wagging, and faces would brighten. Moods in rooms would lift. She'd jump into beds and snuggle with people like they were her family. People took photos of her. She even joined in on family FaceTimes. There's no doubt she was the star of the show, and I was content to be in the background, holding the leash. Not all visits to hospice were light, of course. I learned that very early on. We were visiting with a man, and while he was petting Cookie, he looked me in the eye and said, this is probably the last dog I'm ever going to pet. The finality of his words hit me, and I felt this urge to say something to make that better. But what could you say? I looked at Cookie, and her tail was still wagging, her head was pressing against the man's chest. She was completely present. And I said the only thing I could think to be true at the moment, which was, I can see Cookie's really happy to be here with you today, and so am I. The man slowly smiled. I exhaled and silently thanked Cookie for giving me the words when I found none. On another occasion, we were asked by a family member if Cookie could be present if this gentleman decided to go end of life using the MAID procedure. And that's when I really realized just how much comfort Cookie was providing, not just to me. Most of our visits at hospice happened at bedsides, but there were countless moments in hallways. I would be walking down the hall with Cookie, a door would open, family members would be coming streaming through, crying. Their loved one had obviously just passed away. And they'd see Cookie and I. And a lot of times, they'd stop. They'd come towards us, bend down, reach for Cookie, and pet her. And from where I stood, it almost looked like they were grounding themselves, like reaching for something warm and happy and alive, like I'd done. By the time we were volunteering at hospice, it had been 2 full years since my mom had died. And at that time, I wasn't crying every day anymore, so I probably would have said, I'm doing fine. But now when I look back, I realize I wasn't fine. I was living in a mindset of loss. Like everything that happened had a silent thought attached to it related to my mom. If I saw something beautiful, but mom's not here to see that. If something great was going on with my family, I wish mom could be here. I started noticing friends whose moms were still alive, and I felt envy. I was just constantly focused on what I didn't have, what I'd lost. But something changed in those hospice rooms. Not all at once, but slowly. You see, Cookie and I were witness to rooms filled with love. Family, friends gathered around people at their last days. And it kind of changes you. It made me see what was really important in life. The thoughts in my head, mom's gone, I'm without mom, I've lost mom, started to shift slightly. And I started to relate to the people I was seeing and their families and the love. And I started to have a new thought. I had that love. I had someone that I love so much that loved me. How lucky. How lucky was I? I guess I didn't realize how much my thinking had changed until I met Liz. Liz was in hospice, dying of cancer, and she was the mother to one child, a daughter. So I kind of related to her. And maybe that's why it was with Liz that I had the first ability to say in hospice the words, I lost my mom. And Liz, being a mom, leaned in, wanted to talk. And so we talked. I told her all about the early days. I told her how sharp the pain was. I told her how much I missed my mom. But then I heard myself say something I didn't even know I believed. I heard myself say these words. Now when I think of mom, the first thing I feel is joy. I feel so happy I had her in my life. Like, I feel like I was blessed. When the visit with Liz ended and I was back out in the hall, the words made me stop. I thought, did I really say that? Was I just saying that to make Liz feel better? Do I mean that? I looked down at Cookie, and Cookie looked up at me. To be honest, I don't think she was even paying attention. But I realized that is how I feel now. And I thought, wow, I've really changed. And my very next thought, my mom would be so happy. Cookie and I still go to hospice every week. Only now I think I more intentionally carry my mom with me and speak of her. Recently, when we were on a visit with a woman, Cookie and I were sitting on her bed, and on the TV came a TV host, beautifully dressed, nice necklace, and the woman commented on that. And I proceeded to tell the woman how my mom had a gorgeous collection of jewelry, because every birthday before she got married, she went to Burke's Jewelers and bought herself something special. The woman got excited and said, "Where are those things now?" Proudly, I said, "Oh, they're home in a really special drawer." She looked at me, tilted her head. "That's no place for them." She said, "I love jewelry. I've given mine away. I wish I had more time, but I'm in hospice. And I think for you, the time to wear those things is now." It made me think. So the next week, when I arrived at hospice, I arrived covered in rhinestones. Necklace, bracelet, earrings, even Cookie had a ruby brooch on her collar. We were wildly overdressed for hospice, but the woman just loved it. And you know what? So did I. It almost felt like I was wearing my mom right on my chest. Cookie did come into my life at one of my darkest times. And even though I was the one holding the leash, she was the one that helped to lead me through doors I would never have gone through otherwise, and to lessons that I probably would have learned a lot later. Now, don't get me wrong, hospice hasn't made me less sad that I lost my mom, but it has made me change my focus and think of my mom as she was, a precious gift that I got to have for a while. And Cookie, well, Cookie didn't take away my grief. How could she? But she did walk with me and beside me while my grief changed shape. And that helped me a whole lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Maureen. Of course, everyone wants to meet Cookie, and we're expecting the Cookie to run out here. But I don't think, Elliot, we cleared that, so we don't have the Cookie here with us tonight, unfortunately. But we'll see some pictures at some point later on. And of course, I did notice a little extra bling when you showed up today, so that was always great to hear that it's still coming out no matter where you show up. That rounds out all of our storytellers tonight, and I'm aglow. This has been such an incredible evening. It's, you know, we do have a live stream of the event tonight. We will post things later on, but honestly, you cannot beat being in this room and experiencing how things happen this way. It's nice to have it as a memento, but like feeling the emotion and seeing that and being part of it, it really is a great way to connect. To all our storytellers tonight, I want to thank you for your honesty, your courage, and your willingness to share. And to our coaches, Michael and Kayla, thank you again for taking your time and your great insight to help guide these storytellers to where they landed here tonight. And again, thank you to the Mental Health Foundation of Nova Scotia for supporting and helping make events like this happen. Story Slam wouldn't happen this year. I mean, we always try to kick it off, but like this has been made this elevated what we've done here tonight into a new place. So thank you very much for that. I also want to thank the Canadian Mental Health Association of Nova Scotia for coming out and providing some extra resources. Thank you very much for taking your time as well. And also for everyone here tonight, just to thank you for listening, for holding space, and for being part of the community. During Mental Health Week, we're reminded that even these small moments of connection matter. And tonight, we've created many of these moments together. Because connection strengthens mental health. So take care of yourselves and take care of each other. Thank you. We now have an opportunity. We have Riley will take some pictures. I invite all our story coaches and storytellers, Star and everyone from, and Aaron and your team, if you want to come on up to the front, we'll take some final pictures as well.